Dumelang. Sanbonani. Abshin. Manje le ye abshin aniyazi.
Yima! Thuma mina ndawusabela! Nani bakho! Wafika uMatamela!
Abantwana bemile ngaphandlweni bakhona kakade basithi amlathani zesimo segcwele bakhala bantwana
Babuze emakhaya utheni umisi wathi utheni umem ayiqandeloniweyo ayiqaligobileyo indoda athwele umnqosi owalithi qanda uyisitya esigongozileyo thuma mina ndawusabela wanyathelo kaMatamela umntwana wafika kumhlaba kazanosuku kathahle wabelala kumkani ithule wakhala wathi Zulu liyazangoma Zulu liyazangoma Zulu liyazangoma yikomkani yesizwe samampondo eyahlala kunina kakade unina khulu sekhona Nobandla myekeni uMatamela kuzithuko ziyamfanela kudala bemphophotha ngezithuko wathi mna ndikuphopho thuma mna ndawusabela athi nilibele uba mna ndiyidonki ebethwe emqolo ibisiya phambili nanamhlanje nandithuma ndawufika kade ethethile mna ukumkani Haqebe wathetha upresidenti wokuqala wathi yena kakade imfundo sisixhobo esintlandlombini sokuxela ikati eziko wafika uThabo Mbeki wathi vuka uzenzele wathi uJacob kaZuma working together we can do more wathi yena uthuma mina into kaRamaphosa yathi thuma mina ndiye ebantwaneni bakho bazosabela uzuthathe kade kumdako omnyama ongeva sepha kumagqwirha emrhalela kakade yena wangojonga kade amagqwirha esihloko anqola jonga phantsi ufikile kakade kwisizwe samampondo kakade Matamela sigqumile nje ngumamxesibe mandikahlele kwemamxesibe ndithi kakade wena waguqa ngejulu wabetha amagqwirha ngendlela eyigwadane abuza athi uyathakatha umeya webhisane wathi wena amadolo am ephathile nje ndithembele kuYesu Kristu nguyobetha amagqwirha andithi Nobandla ndindishiye kanjalo andiyajoli kweli khaya
Ndiyabulela. Program Director uTsepang Motsekua uPremier waleliphondo le-Eastern Cape uOscar Mabuyane uDeputy Minister we-Basic Education uDokotela Mhaule u-MEC we-Education walapha Eastern Cape ufundile Gade abasebukhosini nalabo bakakumkani amakhosi yalapha enkantolo Chief Executive Officer we-Nelson Mandela Foundation ubaba uSilo Hatang uDirector wempande South Africa Brian Leggett, Principal we Little Flower, Mama Unomangesi Dina, I'm a social worker, and all the educators, and nani abantu balapha. Ndiyanibulisa nonke. Premier wethu Oscar Mabuyane. Xa kuza Brian apha ezothetha. Ubona nonke nivuya xa kuthetha Brian wathi hayi. And wajonga wabona ukuthi omama ngabo. Wathi President mina apha Eastern Cape bandibiza ukuthi delicious. Kodwa lo Brian ungathi delicious ukudlula mina. Abanye abahlezi apha phambili bathi no kunokwenzeka ukuthi uBrian uqashe abantu wabaletha apha ngamabhasi. Kodwa ndizibonele ngokwami ukuthi hayi uBrian uyathandwa apha kule ndawo. Ngoba uyasebenza. Ndiyabulela Premier wethu kakade ndimxelele ukuthi angacingi ukuthi nguye kuphela delicious. Bakhona abanye abantu abadelicious ukudlula yena. Futhi andazi ukuthi le delicious iyaphi nakhona, what does it mean xa umuntu ezibiza ukuthi delicious. So sisola uBrian sithi hayi uBrian ikhona into ngaye. Why abantu bemthanda kangaka delicious lobu bakhe buthetha ntoni na. Ndiyavuya kakhulu ukuba lapha. I'm really honored and very pleased to be here to come and see these beautiful children. Ubabona, just their faces being bright. And I went into their classroom and saw their beautiful structure, and I was really overjoyed. Ndibulela utata Cyril ukuthi once as he got my call, imali which I had donated, they put it to good use. Isebenzile leyo mali. It is heartwarming to see these cheerful faces. Baye bandicela ukuthi ndibafundele incwadi. Ndathatha le ncwadi kaNelson Mandela ebhalwe ngesiXhosa esi-deep. Upremier wayecinga ukuthi andikwazi ukufunda isiXhosa. Ndambonisa ukuthi no amalimi amaninzi alapha eSouth Africa ndiyakwazi ukuwathetha, ndiyakwazi nokuwabhala, futhi ndiyakwazi nokuwafunda. Andazi yena. So ndifundele abantwana le ncwadi bavuya nyani. And even at their age, at 2, 3, 4 years, at least they could understand ukuthi uNelson Mandela uzalwe kuphi and imisebenzi emininzi ayenzileyo yiphi na. So today is a wonderful day for me in the office to be here. In fact, I would wish ukuthi every day must be like today. Ndihambe ndibona abantu, ndibona nabantwana. Ezinto zale Union Buildings, ay zinzima kakhulu. Zinzima nyani. Xa uzidibanisa ne-Eskom, ziba Westwood. So kuba ngcono la ndifike khona. Just to be with these children, because these children are really our future. And today, I say thank you to the Nelson Mandela Foundation and to Impande ukuthi you've given me an insight about the ECD sector. My wife works a lot on ECD processes, and she always gives me insights about the sector. But today, you've given me a better insight of the sector that is so important, because it is a sector that is about the next generation of South Africans who must be able to live up to their full potential. Brian says that these are the children who must be given a fair start in life. And that is absolutely correct, because we must give them a chance to have their full potential, and so that their capabilities and their abilities of tomorrow's citizens must be fully exposed. Because in the end, we cannot leave any one of them behind. What we do as government must be focused on ensuring that none of them is ever left behind. Early child development is a comprehensive approach to the development of a child from birth to 7 years of age. It is aimed at protecting the rights of children to develop their full cognitive capability, their emotional and social and physical potential. In South Africa, there are still too many children who are not thriving because they begin life at a disadvantage. They are not given a fair chance to be able to succeed in their lives. This is the case in many of our villages here in the Eastern Cape, in Winnie, Madikizela, local municipality, and around the country. Despite the many challenges ECD centers face, they have a long and proud history. Most of these facilities were started by our grandmothers, by our aunts, by our sisters, and by our mothers to meet the needs of the community. If there's anything that is community-based, it is the ECD centers. As we heard from Principal, they just rise from amongst our communities, and they are created because there is a need. Many started out with very little, and number of them have since grown. Like this Little Flower ECD, we heard the history of how it got started with 10 children, and today it has 60 children who attend it. Some started as daycare facilities for working parents, but have since become fully fledged ECD centers. They have relied on support from parents and their communities, and have kept on going despite the many difficulties and challenges. Now, la where there is so much poverty, where there is so much unemployment, ndiyayazi le district ukuthi kuyahluthekwa ngempela. Abantu abaninzi apha abaphangeli. Abantu abaninzi apha balala bengatyanga. So ubunzima enphila ngaphansi kwabo siyabazi. And siloku sizama yonke silungise le meko enikuyo. The growth of ECD centers is a fine example of social entrepreneurship. In nearly every village, town, or city, there is an ECD center. Throughout our country, there is an ECD center that is contributing to job creation and to the development of our children. These are solid foundations we have sought to build upon. And as Deputy Minister was saying, the ECD Center is really the whole on which the foundation of our education is built on. And we must capitalize on the existence of our ECD centers because many of them have mushroomed throughout the country, and they have been started by communities, by our social entrepreneurs, and they exist today on the shoulders of those who have started them. That is why government, in partnership with civil society organizations and donors, and I'm very pleased today that there are so many donors here. There are donors who have come along, yes, to come and pledge solidarity, but who are also working to address the challenges that ECD centers are facing. But we are also pleased that there are NGOs like Impande and many others who have dedicated their work, their staff, and their attention to making sure that they upgrade our ECD centers and they build them. And it's quite impressive to hear that Impande has concentrated here in this district, and they've already built so many. And thank you very much, Impande, for the work that you are doing. We also thank Old Mutual. We also thank the IDC for all the attention, the assistance, and the support that you are paying to ECD centers. Nabo masibaqabela izandla. Now, the construction of this Little Flower ECD Center is an outcome of a real great partnership. In Nelson Mandela Foundation, we thank you for having played this very, very important role of coming here to the Eastern Cape and doing the work that you are doing. And I don't know how you ended up here, but Ntatesel Lohatang, we thank you, and the entire Nelson Mandela Foundation for the excellent work that you are also doing. Masibaqabeleni izandla nabo. Now, this is also a pilot site for a new form of ECD center construction using alternative building technologies. The more we are able to move with the times and harness new applications, the more centers like this that can be built around the country using less resources and with greater speed. Over the past 5 years, the Department of Social Development has partnered with various stakeholders to build 248 ECD centers throughout the country. The Department of Social Development also introduced Vangasali campaign, which is now spearheaded by the Department of Basic Education. The campaign helps ECD centers to become more formalized with support from ECD workers. As of the 1st of April this year, the ECD function, Early Childhood Development Function, was successfully migrated from the Department of Social Development to the Department of Basic Education. What I am particularly pleased about is that here in the Eastern Cape, the Premier was telling me, Uguti, they have completely embraced ECD into the Department of Basic Education, and the whole process of dealing with the challenge of children is in the Premier's office. Premier akekho delicious kuphela, uthanda nabantwana, uyabayenza ukuthi ba progress. Now, this is to link early childhood development to the formal school curriculum. And I want also to applaud a basic education department for having moved with speed and having now begun the focus and also allocating the money to ensure that the ECDs also succeed. Deputy Minister, thank you very much for the work that you are doing. Government is making significant investments in early childhood development. The National Treasury has allocated an amount of just over 1.2 billion rand as a conditional grant in this financial year to expand ECD services. This aims to increase the number of children accessing ECD centers by subsidizing children from indigent families. It also helps registered ECDs to meet the basic requirements needed to be fully registered. And I'm glad to hear that out of the 42,420 ECDs around the country, 22% of them have now been registered, with many more to be registered as we go on. I see this as tremendous progress because the speed with which ECD centers are now becoming registered is quite a pleasing one. Through the subsidy intervention, we have been able to support nutrition at the centers, provide for workers to be paid, and support the acquisition of learning materials. But we are also grateful that through NGOs like Impande, they are also able to bring toys to make sure that the children's education and cognitive skills are improved from an early stage. Through the presidential employment stimulus, around 54,000 early childhood development teachers or practitioners have received support to ensure the survival of the reopening of ECD centers in the wake of the COVID pandemic. Since 2012, when the South African government declared ECD to be a public good, we have embarked on an ECD expansion program. Millions of South African children under the age of 6 have already benefited. But obviously we want to do much more so that the access of children in ECD centers becomes very seamless. We remain committed to our goal of universal ECD access by 2030, and we are working very hard to achieve this goal. Now, I want to thank all who have made the construction of this center possible, including our traditional leaders, including various community leaders in this area. Now, Little Flower is a center of which we can all be proud. Ndivuyela ukuthi sikhuphe aba bantwana emkhukhwini, sibafake kuma classroom amabili, futhi kwaze kwaba nekhishi apho kuzawuphekelwa khona. Siyayivuyela lonto. Now, this little center here is a fitting tribute to the icons of our liberation who were born and spent their childhood here in this area. Foremost among them, Gumama Winnie Madikizela Mandela, ozalwa apha kule ndawo. She was a social worker by training and studied pediatric social work. Now, giving families and children the necessary support in the early stages of the children's life was her passion. Yona into wayesebenza ngayo kakhulu. Where she went, she was able to ensure that children are looked after. So we are very proud to see this center and to see the happy faces of our children. Our thanks go to also the Nelson Mandela Foundation for having had the foresight. And I'm particularly pleased that it's not only the foresight, but it's the clear vision of the work that Nelson Mandela Foundation wants to do. And it is a real testament to the vision that Utatu Nelson Mandela had when he also set up the Nelson Mandela Children's Fund. I'm glad that the Nelson Mandela Foundation is taking forward umsebenzi kaTatu Nelson Mandela. Yes, we thank also our government departments. Early childhood development is an area that is so important that I am also quite passionate about. We will continue to contribute what we can and where we can to make sure that ECD is well positioned. Now, the suggestion has been made by a number of people, including Ndate Selohatang, who has said that it will be best if this whole ECD sector and children of South Africa as a whole are lodged in the presidency so that we can pay more attention. I am very warm to the idea, and we are going to look at that and see how best it can work. I know that here in the Eastern Cape, udiya upremier wenu lo odelicious. Umsebenzi wabantwana so ufake office yakhe in the premier's office. And I think he's showing leadership in that regard. And thank you very much, because we will most probably follow suit at the national level. Because in the end, it is the duty of all of us to help the children of our country to get not only a fair chance, as Brian was saying, but to make sure that our children get the best that our country can give them in order for them to become the best. That is what I aim to see happening. So I'd like us to work together to create conditions in which the life prospects of our children are not hindered by the circumstances of their birth. And they are not hindered about where they were born. Xa umntana ezalwe apha emampondweni afumane ama-chance afana nomntwana ozalwe eCape Town okanye eQeberha okanye phina seGauteng, sifuna ukuthi aba bantwana balingane ngama-chances abazowafumana. So ukwenza i-ECD center enje sifuna ukuthi ifane ne-ECD center esizayifumana eGauteng. Zingahluki, they must all get exactly the same chance in life, so that there must never be a distinction of where a child was born and which circumstances that child was born in. And that is why, City, we don't want to leave any child behind. And focusing on ECD centers is going to give us a lever, a capability to do precisely that, so that no one child in South Africa from age 2 right going up, in fact, from pre-birth to birth to the first 1,000 days, as well as children who are at this age, must never be left behind. Ndiyavuya kakhulu ukuba lapha, because it has also given me a chance ukubona umdla wenu, ukuba khona kwenu apha. Ndiyabona nyani ukuthi nifuna ukuthi abantwana benu baphumelele bangene isikolo, and ndifuna ukuthi our attention ingapheleli kodwa ku aba bantwana. Xa lokhu ndihamba endaweni ezininzi sifumana ukuthi abazali ewe they pay attention kwabantwana ukuthi bangene esikolweni. Ithi mayiya iminyaka sifumana ukuthi abazali i-attention yabo iyaxeka, ngoba xa sifika kubo grade 8 bo grade 9 kulapho sifumana ukuthi abantwana abasayi esikolweni. Sifumana ukuthi kunama drop out amaninzi. Ukunixelela inyani ukuthi every year xa unyaka uqala kungena abantwana abayi 1 million ezikolweni. Baregisterishe baqale isikolo. Bayoqala ugrade 1. Xa begqiba ipreschool, iECD. Abo bantwana kufanele ukuthi bahlale esikolweni for 12 years. Iminyaka engu-12 bagqibe isikolo sabo bayobhala imatric. Kodwa xa sijonga sifumana ukuthi apha endleleni bakhona abanye abayeka isikolo. Ekugqibeleni after 12 years kulabo abaqala 12 years ago sifumana ukuthi kuyobhala only 450,000 yabantwana. Lena enye i-550,000 sifumana ukuthi they have fallen by the wayside. Abasekho esikolweni. Now I often ask myself ukuthi where are these children? Why did they drop out of school? At the beginning, as parents, we are enthusiastic ukuthi yes, bayongena ku preschool, bayongena ku ECD. Xa befika ku grade 9, 8, they drop out. Then I ask ukuthi, where are they? Why did they drop out? Now, ndifuna ukuthi abazali, we must pay attention to abantwana bethu. Xa umntwana angasayi esikolweni, sifana ukuthi sizibuze ukuthi kutheni ungayi esikolweni. Izizathu, there are many reasons, of course. Some of them have to do with poverty. Some of them have to do with a number of other things. Abanye abazali bathi kakumbi kulaba mamantombazana bathi sowukhulile ngoku fanele ukuthi uchatwe. Asifanelanga ukuthi siyenze loo nto. Sometimes ufumana ukuthi ugogo akaphilanga bathi wena musuya esikolweni jonga ugogo, and then bamkhupha esikolweni ayojonga ugogo. Kunezizathu ezininzi, but what I'm saying is that thina njengabazali we must also focus kulabo bantwana by 550,000. Senze sure ukuthi abo bantwana bayayigqiba i-12 years. They must finish their 12 years of schooling. Eyona into enhlupha kakhulu ukuthi njengoba sikhupha le 350 abantu abangihleka ngayo bathu uRamaphosa uthanda umahlalela. Kuneculo elisho njalo bathi hayi uyabathanda umahlalela ubanika i350. So leyo 350 xa sijonga ukuthi ngobani abafumana le 350, sifumana ukuthi abantu abaninzi, the majority of people who are getting this 350 are people who did not finish their matric. Khange baqede i-12 years esikolweni. So abaninzi babo, the majority of them therefore are unemployed. Abaphangeli, abakwazi ukufumana imisebenzi easily ngoba abagqibanga isikolo. And that is why sithi kuni njengabazali, there's a big responsibility on you. From day one umamntala ezalwa ufanele ukuthi angene ku ECD. Xa ekhula lo mntwana ufanele ukuthi xa efika ku 6 or 7 years ayongena ku grade 1. Ahlale esikolweni for 12 years. Xa engayi esikolweni umzali ufanele ukuthi azi ukuthi kutheni lo mntwana angayi esikolweni. Umthathe umuyise esikolweni uyomreporta kootishara Ngoba abanye abantwana yes bona ngokwabo bavele badoje nje esikolweni. So ndithi kini abazali, as parents, let us make sure that we keep our children in school for the full 12 years. Starting off with ECD mhlambe for 2 or 3 years, thereafter 12 full years. Baze bayogqiba grade 12. Bapase grade 12 and thereafter zabona ukuthi senzani ngabo na. Xa singayenzi njalo, bazohlala bethi bafuna le 350. Nayo le 350 asina isithembiso sokuthi izawuqhubeka iqhube onke amaxesha. Asiyazi ukuthi izawuqhuba na. So the greatest thing we can do ukuthi abantu bafunde bagqibe grade 12, because xa ugqibe grade 12 your chances ukuthi ungawufumana umsebenzi iba ngconywana kunalo ongagqibanga grade 12. Andithi siyavana apho bazali bami. Ndifuna ukuthi sivane apho. So umsebenzi wethu as parents, our responsibility as parents is to make sure that our children stay in ECD, stay in the early stages of their education, primary school, baze bayogqiba grade 12. Xa singayenza njalo, awu nizaba nindenze upresident ovuyayo nyani, nami ndizoba delicious. Ndiyavuya, nisale kakuhle. Ndiyavuya kakhulu, nizabuya futhi ndizobona amanye ama-ECD center apha. Enkosi, ndiyabulela.